Hi, and welcome to Hoffman's Hot Seat. I'm Tom Hoffman with One-to-One Media, coming to you from the Dreamforce event here in San Francisco. And I'm joined today by Ralf VonSosen, who's Vice President of Marketing at InsideView. And today, Ralf and I will be talking about techniques that companies can use to gather more insights and intelligence about their B2B customers. And Ralf, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, Tom, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. So Ralf, we were talking before about how there's so much buzz in the industry about gathering insights and intelligence about consumers from various social channels and so forth. But what are some techniques that companies can use from more of a B2B standpoint to gather insights and intelligence about, say, key decision makers at businesses that they're trying to court and so forth?
Right. No, that's a great question. And you know what's been interesting for me is that I was able to spend a lot of my career in the CRM world. Then after that, I spent about 4 or 5 years in the e-commerce world, which is very B2C focused and is very much about gathering this data in big chunks, right? You're sort of looking at a target population and you keep gathering data on that population and you trend that. On the B2B end, right now the focus seems to have been very much on social profiles and in terms of how can I use a certain social profile to create a campaign, right? So I look at a certain segment of the market and I say they have a certain social profile or they do something and I launch a one-to-many type of campaign. Or on the services side, I have the ability to listen to conversations and have sort of a one-to-many conversations again to see is the sentiment positive, is it negative out in the market. But it's been hard to, via both those angles, to then say, okay, well, this is a one-to-many promotion, this is a one-to-many listening. How do I now, when I find Tom and he's interested via the campaign, or how do I find when I listen to a conversation, hey, Tom seems to be saying something negative about us, how do I kind of really engage with him? How do I now turn the one-to-many into the one-to-one? And that's really where we've tried to focus on to kind of provide that information about how do I now start gathering this profile on the person. And the profile would include the information that's available via these many social networks, right? Ideally, you would have the types of connections that they have, the types of people that they know, their hobbies, their blogs, the news sources that they're currently being quoted in, and gathering all that information. And I think the roadblock to that's a lot been the time that it takes, because put yourself in the shoes of a sales rep. Are you going to now spend an hour gathering what is an explosion of data that's out there? It used to be, well, there were only, I didn't know a lot about Tom because, well, there's only like 3 sources of data that I can get information about you on. And once I've got those, well, I just don't have that much. Now I could probably spend the next 3 hours doing nothing but gathering information on you. So the real critical aspect for a salesperson moving forward is how do I get all this information in one place quickly so I can start that relationship, that one-to-one relationship with you.
Okay, thanks. So Ralf, as you mentioned before, there's been this explosion of data that's occurred, and playing off that, can you speak to recommendations as to how companies can filter out much of the information in social that's in the end irrelevant in terms of the leads and key decision makers that they're looking to focus in on?
Yeah, no, it's a great point, because if you have all this information coming in, I now spend all this time researching, but I like to break it up. You can probably think about the answer to that in 3 segments: who, what, and when. So starting with the who is really trying to figure out who should I be talking to. For me to go out and say I want to do a deal with, let's just pick a company, I want to do it with Volkswagen, right? So Volkswagen, I want to do some sort of deal with them. Do I go out and get as many contacts as I possibly can? I can probably get just in the U.S. 1,000 contacts for Volkswagen. That's not really going to help me very much.
Right.
So on the who, it becomes a matter of filtering down who are the decision makers, who are the people with the right title, so I can start building a strategy about who to contact. Because otherwise, I'm going to be either blasting and praying, or I'm just going to be, confused on who do I find. I'll be going for months.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
The second is the what. So now, how do I figure out, if I know who I'm talking to, what should I talk to them about? What do they care about? What are their interests? Especially in a world where I'm not going to be getting on a plane, going there and sitting in their office and looking at the pictures they have on the wall and doing hours and hours of research. How do I relate to them? How do I start developing not only a professional profile but a personal profile with them so I can establish a meaningful relationship, and when I call them or email them, I have something to say that they care about. All great, but if I bring that topic up at the wrong time, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So that's the third piece, the when. And for that, it's really starting to get more and more important to be able to filter the news, because I can't cover all the news and things that are happening out there, having a way to trigger certain events, right? So I can put a company on maybe kind of a watch list for, I only want to know if there's some sort of litigation that's happening, or there's some sort of legal event that's happening, or there's a specific business unit that's being built or launched. Those are the kind of events that, hey, when that's happening, that's when I'm going to call them, because that's when it's going to be interesting.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Thanks. So can you point to any examples of how a company might be able to apply analytics to this information, to this intelligence, and then be able to act on that for, to help improve business outcomes?
Yeah, so I think one of the examples that we have is looking at the types of contacts that we go after. So we're able to look at the types of deals that we start and at what level, what kind of decision maker we start. So we've done some analysis on certain industries and certain titles, because titles don't really mean the same thing in a pharma company as they do in a high-tech company or a smaller company. So what we've done is taken a look at who to contact, and we have sort of certain best practices for researching in one industry versus another, so we get the traction that we need.
Thank you. So can you also point to examples of companies that you've worked with that have really used this type of intelligence effectively? That would be great.
Okay. Yeah, so one great example is Adobe. So Adobe's been using our software for 3 to 4 years, and it really came in first as a tool for them to just gather more phone numbers and emails, but pretty quickly they realized that with the solution what they can do is shorten the research cycle. That was one of the first things that came to mind, was what used to be a 2-3 hour research became a 15-minute research, because they could in one place kind of see the information that they had. They were also able to then observe how they shrink the deals, the time to close, because they were able to accelerate the conversations that much quicker, right? So now, rather than having to take 2-3 months to just build the relationship and get to know them, they can really jump ahead very quickly with that relationship, build the trust, and go forth. Another place is Concur, is another one of our customers that implemented our solution to change their selling process. So where they were in a place where they realized that in order for them to differentiate from the competition, they needed to move from the traditional solution selling to a solution selling plus what we call social selling, and include that. And they wanted a solution that allows that to happen within the process flow that they currently have. They use Salesforce.com. They wanted something that didn't take the sales rep into a third solution, didn't take them into somewhere else. They wanted something that was right there within Salesforce.com. So our solution was a perfect fit for them, because right there in the opportunity or the account or in the contact, they had the information there. So they could very easily incorporate it into their best practices, into their sales process.
Okay, well, those are great examples. and thanks again for taking this time with us and sharing your insights.
I loved it. Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.